Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the MetaStellar YouTube channel. My name is Maria KOROLOV, and I am the editor here at MetaStellar. And today's top free best-selling speculative fiction book on Amazon today is an action-packed story of EMP Survival. EMP is an electromagnetic pulse. It destroys all the electronics but leaves humans unharmed. So, very popular trope these days. Very popular. But before we get to that, we've got 9 other books on today's top 10 list. You see, every single Friday, the team here at MetaStellar reads the first few chapters of every book on that list. Today, I was helped out by community member Alex KOROLOV. Other books on today's list include a young woman who wants to be a Dragoneer, several different kinds of vampires, and a sexy Gargoyle. The link to the article and to all the books is in the description box below. For those who are new to the channel, MetaStellar is an online magazine of speculative fiction. All the content is always free to our readers. We publish original short fiction, we print excerpts, essays, and lots of book reviews. We're able to do this and keep our content completely free thanks to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thank you so much. And we have an anthology out. You can buy it at all the major bookstores in print and electronic form. Includes the best of our first year of short stories, and we're currently working on our second anthology. That one will be out this summer. Okay, so let's stop futzing around and get to the books. Book number 10. Here we go. This is Tempted by the Gargoyle by Lisa Carlisle. That's where the sexy gargoyle comes in. It's a paranormal romance. There's a guy who can shapeshift into a gargoyle, and he has ability to communicate telepathically with other gargoyles, and he can fly and has some other magic powers. And our protagonist is a cop, and she also has some magic powers. She has kind of like an intuition that of like danger and stuff, which is useful because she's a cop. And something's going on that's wrong, and this is Boston, and which I like because I live near Boston. Something is wrong in town, something magically weird is happening, and the two of them are pairing up, and of course they're immediately attracted to each other. So not my kind of book because of all the sex and the gushy stuff. I don't like the romance. But putting that aside, it is extremely readable. In general, by the time books make it to this top 10 list, they are very, very readable. And the book is free, and it's one of the 4 books in the Stone Centuries paranormal romance series. It's the first book of the series. The author is a USA Today best-selling author. If you like these kind of books, grab them quickly because they don't stay free for long. Authors and publishers make their books free as a promotion in order to get people interested in the entire series. And it's only usually for a couple of days, if that. So if you like one of these books, definitely grab it now while you have the chance. All right, and I mentioned it's not on Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited is where you pay $10 a month and you read all the books you want. A lot of books on the bestseller lists, both the paid and the free bestseller lists, are in Kindle Unlimited. Last time I checked, more than half of the books were. It's a really good deal if you read a lot. All right, so let's move on to the next book on the list, When They Came by Kody Boye. The first of 3 books in the When They Came dystopian young adult science fiction series. The other books are $5 each, and they're not in Kindle Unlimited. And the author has been on our list before. So again, I also read this one, or I read the beginning of this one. I read the first few chapters, and it's not my thing. First of all, there's a little bit of teenage romance happening, but also there's teenagers in it. The protagonist is 17. I hate teenagers. I just hate young people. I am so old and tired of them walking on my lawn. Oh my God. The teenage drama is just too much. Anyway, the aliens invaded in 2024, and it's now 6 years later, and the aliens look like werewolves but don't have tails, and they're creeping around outside, and the remaining humans are sitting on the wall shooting them down if they get too close. So you'd think if the aliens have the power to travel across like solar systems that they'd be smarter than that, but apparently not. So it's really not clear what's happening, but it is a very, very, very creepy premise. So if you like that kind of thing, check it out. So the protagonist has just graduated high school. She's 17 and she joined the Guard. So she's one of 3 people in her generation who are going to be sitting on the wall and keeping the aliens from coming. So, and they already got her dad. So everyone has PTSD. Yeah. Next we have Voodoo and Vampires by Theophilus Monroe, the first of 8 books in the Blood Witch saga, another paranormal romance series. The other books are $1 to $5 each, but they're all in Kindle Unlimited. And the author has been on our list before. And again, I've read this one. Again, I don't like romance. And I also am creeped out by the fact that the girl on the cover is wearing a sexy schoolgirl uniform. Like, what's that about? But anyway, so the story starts out with our protagonist, Haley. She's on a mission. She has to seduce and assassinate the vampire king. But she tells us that she's not really the seduce and assassinate type. She's more of the kick your ass and torture the truth out of you type. So I really like that opening. She sounds like my kind of woman. And so I felt really optimistic about this book for a while, but then the beginning dragged on and on and on. So there's a lot of backstory. There's vampire politics. Turns out Haley's been a vampire for 7 years, and when she turned, she was 16, and so she's gonna look 16 for the rest of her life, and she wears a schoolgirl uniform, I guess to creep people out, I don't know. And she has magic powers. She's a blood witch, plus she's a vampire. And the vampire that she wants to kill is several hundred years old, and he's of the humans are our enemy and we shall kill them once, it comes to it. So, and she's a young progressive vampire, I guess, and her mentor wants that old guy dead. A lot of backstory here, a bit of teenage drama, and I got as far as the 5th chapter and she hasn't killed a single person yet. So very disappointed with the lack of bloodshed here. All right, next we have The Frost Eater by Carol Beth Anderson, the first of 3 books in the Magic Eaters romantic fantasy series. The other books are $4.43 and $4.99 each, and they're not in Kindle Unlimited. And we previously reviewed this series back in February 2022. So I do like the writing style very much, and I like the magic system. So people eat certain objects and it gives them magical powers, like the ability to fly or the ability to create ice. And Nora, who's 17, is a daughter of the king, and she's accompanying him as he travels around his kingdom, and she can do a little bit of magic. She can create ice when she eats certain things. It's the story is set 200 years after some kind of cataclysm killed billions of people, leaving the few survivors who are left to rebuild civilization. And while they're in this one town, a teenage boy flies in. I guess he has the magic power of flight, and then he makes an ice ramp. So I guess he also has the magic power to make ice. And the ramp falls apart and he falls and he's embarrassed and he flies away. And when he's almost back home, his powers of flight fail him and he falls into the mud. So he's good at his magic. And he's got 2 magical abilities and he's pretty decent at them. but he's not great. He just embarrassed himself in front of the king and in front of Nora. But he's on a mission. His ex-girlfriend has vanished a few weeks ago, and she's wedded to the capital to become an apprentice for the king, and has disappeared, and he can't find her. So he wants to get the king's attention in hopes that they'll take him to the capital and maybe he can find her. And so judging by the fact that the point of view switches back and forth between him and Nora, I'm worried that this is going to be a romance where they get together. But other than that, I like the story. The writing style is great. It is a little slow paced. And of course, there's young people in it, so I don't know whether I'll stick with it or not. But it is definitely very, very readable if you like this genre. I love the setting, I love the magic system, and I like the people here. They're the kind of people I'd like to spend more time with. Okay, next we have Curse of Shadows by Robert Adauto III. The first of 3 books in the Coyle and Fang adventure series. The other books are $5 each, but they're all in Kindle Unlimited. And this is a steampunk kind of story. So it starts out in San Francisco in 1892, and a bunch of mercenaries are trying to break into a warehouse owned by the government at a secret location in order to rescue or in order to capture a vampire that the government has in a cage. And they want to use a vampire to find some kind of magic book. And they're going to do evil things with it. And the vampire escapes and kills everybody. And the vampire is about to commit suicide when her little sister shows up, or a vision of her sister, and tells her not to do it and to go and find this book so that the bad guys can't get their hands on it and do bad things. She's going to need some help finding this book. She's going to need to find a good detective. So, extremely readable. And a very well-paced beginning. Fang the vampire is a great character. Great balance of action and world building and character development. I really, really liked it. I love the stakes at the beginning. And I really like a lot about this book, and I'll probably be sticking with it. Next, we have Wicked Games by M.J. Scott, the first of 4 books in the Tech Witch Urban Fantasy series. The other books are $5 each, and the 4th book is currently available for pre-order and will be coming out this June. So it's about Maggie, who runs a company. I guess it's a single-person outfit called Tech Witch, and she debugs computer code. But since this is in the near future, computer code is really complicated, so it's more like she's a therapist for computers, and she helps resolve incompatibilities between different computer systems and stuff. The book was published in 2018, before the advent of ChatGPT, so I guess the author was a little prescient there. A guy who runs a video game company has hired her because something wonky is going on with one of his video games and nobody can figure out what it is. And one of the people testing it has lost it and had a nervous breakdown, and 2 others just disappeared. So he's got police and detectives looking for the disappeared people, but he wants her to look at what's going on with the code. The first time she goes into the virtual reality headset, something really weird and creepy happens to her in the game. But despite that, she decides to take the job. Also, she's attracted to the hot, rich guy running the company. So I don't like that. I guess I've mentioned that I am not a fan of romance. But other than the romantic part, the book is readable, interesting, and today pretty relevant, so I might stick with it. Next we have another relevant book, All Androids Lie by H. Peter Alesso, a collection of sci-fi short stories. And the author has several other books up on Amazon that are all in Kindle Unlimited if you like his writing style. So I don't like short stories because I have a hard time remembering names. And I know I'm the editor of a short story magazine, right? So, it should be my favorite genre, but it's not. It's my least favorite one. I like to read long books. Better yet, I like to read series of books. I mean, I like series where there's at least 10 or 20 books in them, so that I have a chance to learn who the people are. So for short stories, by the time I figure out everybody's name, the story's over, right? So it's kind of a little frustrating for me. But anyway, the first short story is called All Androids Lie. Obviously the author has heard of ChatGPT. Okay, I usually don't say this because by the time books make it to the top 10 list, they're usually very well edited. But it feels like this book is missing a content edit because the short story didn't really make sense to me. There were also way too many adjectives and adverbs in it. And there was quite a bit of narrative distance. It was kind of like an old-fashioned kind of writing style. And so I did not enjoy this writing style. The premise is about a lawyer defending a man accused of money laundering and fraud. And the defense lawyer and the prosecuting attorney and the defendant are all sentient androids. And the case hangs on the fact about whether androids can lie or not. And it's not really clear how or why, and why the guy was found innocent. Like I said, I think it needs some content editing. So I'm not going to be sticking with the book. But if you're a little bit more open-minded towards short stories than I am, and a little bit more willing to tolerate different writing styles and approaches, you might like it. And like I said, it's definitely relevant in this time and age. Okay, next we have After the Ending by Lindsey Pogue and Lindsey Fairleigh. The first book in The Ending, a dystopian science fiction series. The other books are $4 to $5 each, but they're not in Kindle Unlimited. And the story is about a future in which 90% of people have died, and the survivors have developed unbelievable abilities. And the protagonist has found love with the least likely person. So I don't mind the unbelievable abilities, but massive death tolls and romantic plots are not my thing. So after that prologue, the book starts right in with a flu that's much worse than normal, sending people to the hospital. There's lots of hand sanitizer, lots of it. I guess this is a post-COVID novel. Nope, it came out in 2013. Never mind. So everybody's getting sick left and right in the first couple of chapters, going to the emergency room, dying. Danielle and Zoe are the two protagonists, and they're pretty sympathetic characters, but I don't like seeing them surrounded by all this horror. And Zoe's roommate dies, and so does Danielle's boyfriend and best friend, and both Zoe and Danielle get sick, and it's just way too close to reality. I could not read this. I would after the ending. Yeah, I wouldn't. But other people do like this kind of thing, and I do have to say it's readable. And like I said, I do like the two protagonists. But it cuts too close to home for me. All right, next we have the Dragoneer trilogy by Vickie, Knestaut, and Danny Knestaut, a collection of the first 3 of 8 books in the Dragoneer fantasy series. The other books are $6 each, but the entire series is in Kindle Unlimited. And we previously reviewed the first book of the series in October of 2021. And so I forget who reviewed it the first time, but I was reading it today. And this reminded me a lot of the Dragon Riders of Pern. And the protagonist is Tristan. Her dad is the Dragoneer, I guess the guy who's in charge of dragons in this kingdom. And he's been sick, so she's been taking care of the dragons by herself. And her dad has an apprentice, and the apprentice is slated to be the next Dragoneer, even though Tristan is much closer and better with the dragons than he is. And she already has a telepathic connection to them and can hear them in her mind, and nobody else can. And she really wants to be the Dragoneer, but girls aren't allowed, so her father won't even let her try out for the job. So it's a slow-paced, old-fashioned kind of story. And like I said, it reminds me a lot of the Dragon Riders of Pern. And I loved those books when I was a kid. And if I was reading these books then, I think I would love them as well. But since I'm quite a bit older and more jaded, and I've read this plot many, many times, a girl wants to do something and can't because she's a girl. I'm a little jaded and tired of that premise. But if you're younger or less jaded than me, then you might enjoy it. Like I said, the writing style feels very similar to the Dragon Riders of Pern, which is a very, very enjoyable series of books. Next, we have a book that Alex has read instead of me because he reads all of these books. And this is a book of EMP Survival. Specifically, it's the last of 4 books in the EMP Survivor series. The other books are $2.50 to $5 each, but they're all in Kindle Unlimited. And James Hunt, the author, has been on this list several times before. And so for some reason, and I don't know why, people love EMP survival books. And this is where an EMP blast takes out all the electronics. EMP stands for electromagnetic pulse. They can be caused by solar flares or by nuclear bombs or by EMP generators. You can actually point this EMP generator, at a car or at a cell phone and just kill them, and they just die. So it's a cool premise, and I guess it's very much like wish fulfillment. We'd love to see all the electronics around us just die. So anyway, Alex says that the story starts a few days after the EMP happened, which is unusual. Usually these stories take place as the EMP is happening or just before. And he likes that because sometimes the EMP stories are really slow getting started because it's all about the build up. You get to know the characters, and then the EMP thing happens and everyone's confused and panicking. And but here it starts a few days after the EMP, and the protagonist is Damien, and he spent years preparing for exactly this emergency. So he's been planning to infiltrate a top secret government facility just outside Washington. And with the EMP, he now has the opportunity to get in there. It's unguarded now. There's only one person there. He interrogates them, finds what he's looking for. It turns out this facility has been weaponizing infectious diseases. And he plans to use this particular disease to get revenge on some guy who did him wrong. Alex says he's going to keep reading this. He likes the fact that it starts after the EMP. So it skips over all the initial confusion and panic. And he likes the fact that it starts right in with the action. And he likes his apocalypse stories full of action and suspense. And this book has plenty. All right, so there you go. And before we go, I want to thank our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. And if you want to get this story or this the Free Friday report every Friday afternoon. Subscribe to our mailing list or subscribe to the channel. We are here every single Friday to tell you about the hottest new free books so you have something fun to read over the weekend. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.